welcome back if you're already subscribed and seen a few of my videos, and if you're new, welcome in. I'm Natasha. I call myself an astrological birth chart counselor or coach, as I take a more counseling approach to reading birth chart readings. Okay. And using it as a tool to help you become more self-aware, as well as other people have their own personal charts and challenges that are individual, just like yours. And so these are all things that we are trying to work on, and it came from somewhere. It came from our childhood, the environments that we grew up in, and there is always a balance between the two of why are we becoming the way we are, and where, like, where did it come from, So, yeah. So back to the actual sign that I'm going to talk about now is Cancer. So Cancer is the fourth house, or the number 4 in the Zodiac sign. So Cancer is the cardinal water sign, representing home, family, all the emotions in your childhood upbringing. What did that kind of look like growing up? And the Cancer archetype, just like I said, represents home, family, and all of the emotions, because the moon represents Cancer. It's the ruler of Cancer, is the moon. And so the moon changes every 2.5 to 3 days or so. And so it changes all the time compared to all the other planets and the rulers of the other signs. I do have I can't speak today. I have a video on the planet rulers, if you look at the playlist down below, if you want to kind of get a tidbit of that. But the moon representing Cancer can make them ebb and flow, seem a little moody, as their emotions are always changing, adapting, and flowing with the tides of what's going on in their environment as well as within themselves. And they are very, at their core, very nurturing, emotionally keen on picking up signs and clues of the emotions of other people, as they're a water sign. So a lot of the water signs tend to be good at this, unless something else is happening in their chart where it's a little weakened. But at their core, they want a secure, stable, loving home and family. Whether that is what you actually got, that's not necessarily what that means. It's just if you're a sun sign, Cancer, then at your core you wish that you received or you build yourself like a loving, secure family environment that is filled with all the joys of emotions that brings with you. So Cancer, it's also the cardinal sign of water. So they're very good at being a go-getter. They're the opposite sign of Capricorn. So they're similar, yet their approach is very different. So Cancers are really hardworking, and they'll go for whatever they're emotionally driven to work for. Or if they have a family, they're willing to work and provide a stable financial income in order to provide a safe and secure home environment, even if they don't even like their job. But they'll do the work and go after it, because you need emotional stability and security in order to feel safe, and especially if you're raising kids, it's really important for them mentally, as well as getting their basic needs met. Because if you don't get your basic needs met, then the kids are going to start living in fight or flight or fear, lack mentality. They might seek out things that, because they didn't get the little simple material things that other kids got. And so that's going to be a wound, and so as a nurturing Cancer, you want to provide all of those things, even if, you know, you go into debt for it, you know, like you won't let your kid see that you're suffering and doing all of these things in order to give them whatever they want, you know, because your nurturing side is, you know, so protective, you know. So you, as a Cancer, they really want to nourish and support, you know, their loved ones at their core. And if they didn't get that, they really aspire and wish that, you know, they could one day have that if they haven't given up. Cancer also represents the nourishing parts of the body, so the chest, the breast, and the stomach, because as women get pregnant, you know, that is where you are building as well as protecting the newborn child. So the stomach, and then the chest area where you provide milk for the newborn baby. So those are the areas of the body that Cancer represent. It represents childhood upbringing. So, you know, allowing the kid to have that freedom to explore, play imagination, be goofy, silly, do whatever, you know. So like a lot of Cancer children are like little comedians, and they say the darndest things, or, you know, and it's super cute and funny in their own cute, clever way. And, you know, like as a protector, you also don't want to hurt their feelings because, you know, they're young, you know, at least as kids, you know, it represents home family. They don't really comprehend big adult things or serious things like the evils of the world, you know. And so criticism and trying to control what is right or wrong, or control like what they need to do or whatever, if the way that it's presented is too much, it like pierces a Cancer a lot more and hurts them, even if it wasn't intended to. So if you have a Cancer child and you don't catch yourself in the way that you're trying to communicate, or the way that you're trying to express what you're trying to make a kid comprehend, because they haven't lived as many years as you, just be aware of that, because that is what's going to really hurt a Cancer archetype. Because any of the water signs, they're just more sensitive, and, you know, they can't always, they're one of the most vulnerable, because you can penetrate water, you know, anyone can go into like a bathtub or the ocean and just stick their hand in water, and water will just absorb it like a sponge, you know. They'll just take in whatever that thing is, whether it was like a solid substance that was clean and healthy, or if it was like a slimy, gross, toxic chemical thing, you know, and that just now intervened and just like spread all over in that water, and you can't easily grab it out. Or like if if some kind of oil stuff spilled, you know, in the water, and you see it shine, you can't just scoop that up and out, you know. When you made a boo-boo, you know, and you made, even if it was an accident, and you try to collect some of that out, the residue is still in there. And so, you know, like you have to be a little bit more cautious and careful with a Cancer archetype or the other water signs, which are, my brain is going to go away, Scorpio and Pisces. So they're more sensitive to absorbing emotions of others, absorbing, you know, like the energy, the frequency, the way that things were communicated, the behaviors that were expressed. So all of the covert things that, you know, are unsaid, or, you know, it's sensory, you know, so they pick up on those things. So especially when you think of kids and their environment, growing up, and little babies, they're mostly observing. They're watching with their eyes and listening with their ears, because before they learn whatever language you speak, they don't know language. Language doesn't exist quite yet. They haven't grabbed on to the vocabulary, and if they are learning vocabulary, they may not really understand the definition of those words, or how to put those together clearly, or how to communicate their needs and wants that clearly, because it's still representing the child and how they grew up in an environment. So, so like, the way that you interact with the Cancer has to be kind of sensitive, not too flustered or aggravated, super critical, or like, you're doing this wrong or whatever, because they didn't know, you know, like, how is someone supposed to know something that they've never done or learned before, you know? And so you need to have that childlike beginner stage of learning, as well as emotion. So like, the sign before Cancer is Gemini, and that's the actual communication and learning. But in the 4th house of Cancer, we're kind of learning the emotions, which you don't have school to really do that. You're mostly picking that up in your home environment, if hopefully your home environment was safe and secure. But if that wasn't, then now there's always going to be a polar opposite, you know, reaction of how are you going to survive out in the world when your own home is not safe, or you have to walk on eggshells, or, you know, you're criticized like you're never good enough from a parent or both parents, you know, or whatever else is going on. So a Cancer is more sensitive, and they'll go through different mood swings, because they understand emotion, so they understand, and then at the same time, you know, they may be frustrated, moody, they want to have a meltdown, or they're super passionate in whatever they're doing, you know. So it's just the ebbs and flows of all the emotions all at the same time. So that's why it represents the mother, or the moon, you know, because the mother usually, if you think about old gender roles, whether you believe in that or not, in traditional sense, the mother represented the home. She was like the manager of the home, and the father, or Capricorn, which is the opposite, was the manager of the outside world. Like, is it safe? You know, I need to go provide for the family, or go hunt for food. We need to plan and see if, you know, are there enemies approaching the land or the little community, and we need to protect the women and children who are at home. So Cancer is just like the opposite of Capricorn, but they're managing a different department of the zodiac. So instead of work and career and being seen on the outside, they're the manager of the home front. So the kids' emotions, which are all over the place, and knowing how to nudge, you know, let them be free, but like course correct, or, you know, be a little bit assertive to break up a fight, or say like, hey, that wasn't nice. You know, you need to say sorry to your brother or sister, you know, and that's not right. You don't punch your kid just to get their cookie. You just don't do that. You know, like laying down the law, you know, with the smaller people of the land in the home. but in a nurturing, loving way. So you have to be flexible, yet you are the boss. So you're cardinal. So you're still kind of overseeing the youngins, or all the things that need to be done in the home, the food, the cleaning, the washing, the clothes, you know, all these basic, if you think of old time, you know, if you were just to survive without the shopping malls and the grocery stores and all of that, someone has to do that part, you know, as a team of survival, if you think about it. So if you took away grocery stores, the luxurious things that we are so blessed with that people take for granted, you know, like your food does not come from Instacart, you know. You know, like kids today who grow up with cell phones and all these quick, fast things, don't let them forget that their food does not come from Instacart, that they just click out the amount and it will just magically be delivered to you. Like, you know, the other process and steps, it came from a grocery store, and from that it came from a truck, you know, a big truck driver who had to go from one place to the other in order to get all the supplies to that one or multiple grocery stores. And then from there, it came from a farm or came from an international source in order to provide you with those things without doing any actual labor work, you know. So in the old time, like, think about that. The mother or the female usually did those things. And so she's having to do all these different things and think about all the planning, you know, like, I need to put this in the oven, this needs to be done, I need to chop the potatoes in order to make lunch on time, dinner on time for the entire family, and that's time consuming. And then we got the kids fighting and it's like, oh, I'm missing one kid playing out in the woods, like Huckleberry Finn or something, and where's that one? I hope he's not getting bit by a snake or whatever. Like, worrying all the time of like worst case scenarios because you're a protector. You're like, oh my God, like, this kid is gonna cut his arm again, you know, whatever, he doesn't listen to me. And now I'm freaking out because, like, I have all these other things to do. I have all these other kids to, you know, they're all shouting and screaming, and I need to get lunch or dinner ready. And I need to make sure my husband is taken care of because he's tired on a quest or hunting or whatever, or bringing in money so this way we can just survive or pay for medicine and whatever. So they're always kind of very worried all the time, and trying to prevent that from happening, or prevent, you know, because people may not understand emotions, or the silent, like, oh, one kid got really quiet and they're not being expressive because they're never feeling heard, or there's always a dominant child somewhere, and now we need to like tend to this one a little bit so we don't kind of lose the self-esteem and, you know, willpower to make it and survive. So we have to kind of tend to this one, and sometimes bring another who's on their high horse a little bit down and the other one back up, and everything in between. So that's just the energy, emotions of a Cancer. They can ruminate on the past a lot, or like, oh my God, like this happened or whatever, I'm still sad about this, and or disappointed, or grieving, but I don't have time to grieve, I still have work to do. But you're still feeling all of these emotions, you know. So that's pretty much the nurturing yet, you know, go-getter sign of the cardinal water sign of Cancer. I think that's pretty much it. Like, just like any other water signs, they just have to be a little cautious that if they feel hurt or intimidated, that they don't use manipulative, like emotional manipulation in order to get their way. There's always pros and cons to every zodiac sign. And, you know, like even as adults, like we can still take on childlike behaviors or our childhood wounds that we learn to survive in order to get our way, and kind of use that in a way to be calculative in order to get what we want, just like a kid does, you know. So if you think of the zodiac archetypes kind of like that, you'll see a tendency of what is the go-to process of how someone you know, gets what they want, or how they learned to get what they want, you know. So if it's in a negative, poor intention way, then of course it's not the best positive idea to do, and that comes from a wounded place inside, whether, you know, it's literally what is happening, or it's a buildup of things that has been happening for a while, and it comes out in a way that wasn't as pleasant because there's a lack. So in order to counterbalance that, it can be expressed or used in a way to try and fill that void within the person, you know. So if you feel that you're in that, you know, state of mind, or if you know someone who, with any zodiac sign, if you watch the whole playlist of the zodiac signs that I have, you can better understand how other people are just trying to get their basic needs met when there is a void or a lack that is happening, whether that was at surface value or very recent, or it's something that slowly has been chipped away, used, abused, and taken away from them, and always kind of shut down or disregarded, or they feel unseen, unheard. They always have to self-sacrifice, possibly, in order to let someone else get their way, because they understand all the time. 'Cause a lot of the water signs, they do understand. So they hear you and they may empathize with you, but that doesn't mean that you should just take that for granted, or you don't see and hear their pain, because they're so understanding of you that you may not realize that you're basically, you know, trying to capture them, or like trap them. I don't know if that makes sense, because you can't really trap water very easily. It just soaks up everywhere, or it's easy to splash, you know. So that's another way of thinking about it. It's like you have to be careful walking across the desert with buckets of water to feed your village, you know. You're doing the loving, hard work of trying to provide life-bearing water across the desert to your village and family, miles and miles away, and you can't just like run with that water if you don't have like tops on it. Like, think of super old time farmers back in the day who literally had to do that all the time, where they carry water or other food items actually on their head. If you ever travel to Bali, or, you know, like other places, Africa, India, where this is like a daily thing, or they have to hike up steep mountains because there's no grocery store up in the mountains, and giant 18-wheeler trucks can't go to these tiny little villages. People actually have to hike up with donkeys, or actually physically climb with these items, you know. And that is like a nurturing, caring act that is like not easy. It's hard work, and not a lot of people may see that, or they don't, it goes unappreciated, You know, so that can be a representation of this kind of Cancer archetype, is that they want to nourish, provide substance, you know, in order for life to flourish, you know, in a healthy way. But, you know, you have to be careful when you carry water in buckets long distances, otherwise you lose precious water. And sometimes, depending, every single sip of that counts, you know, and there's time limit on that. You can't just feel like you don't want to do it, and, you know, it's like, well, I'll do it next week. Well, you're going to have no water next week, and then you also have to take in consideration the time to travel to, hopefully there's water on the other end, and then walk that thing back, you know, to the whole group, you know. So that may be some creative metaphors for you in thinking about the archetype of Cancer, home, family, all the emotions and childhood upbringing, providing life and protecting the home, everything to do with family, and sensitive in a good way. But yeah, please like, share, and subscribe. If you want to book a birth chart reading, you can go to my website down below. It's linked, or it's www.natashascreativewellness.com. I will never reach out to you for a reading, so those will be scammers, okay, or imitators. I don't have any of those right now because I'm just, you know, doing this pretty new. But if that ever comes to be, don't be fooled, because there are emotionally manipulative people out there who like to cut corners. And I'm a Capricorn sun, and I do not cut corners. It's not right. And there'll always be karma following that if you do. So book a reading. If you want to learn a little bit more about yourself in order to gain a variety of perspectives, or if you're interested in learning a little bit of your kids' birth chart to help navigate them a little bit in a helpful way. I can never predict anything. It's absolutely impossible. So don't use it for that intention. It's just to help as like a little guidance, of like, try to be aware of this or that, or maybe little tips of what you may choose to do or not do, just to be mindful a little bit more. So yeah, and I also have products, merchandise on my website. I like art, or have an art degree. I have a master's in mental health counseling. That's why I like to combine the two. There's no perfect job that fit what I am passionate about and what my life has led me to what it seems to be flourishing or building today. And, you know, I like to share, but I also like to survive. So just like everybody else. So please like, share, and subscribe for more. And I'll see you next time. Bye.